Ask the Mayor. Your chance to ask the Mayor of Weymouth questions about the town and or anything else that you have concerns about. Ask the Mayor is pre-recorded. And now it's Mayor Bob Hedlund.
Welcome to another episode of Ask the Mayor. My name is Casey Taccio. I'm assistant to the mayor, and today I will be the guest citizen advocate and inquisitor. I'm filling in for Jim Melody, so I'm excited to be here and to ask.
You're filling in for Bob Luongo, who's filling in for Bob.
Yes.
This is the C team, but it could be her big break.
Yeah, C team, but. So we've got some questions for you here, Mayor. Are you ready?
I'm ready. And you can take liberty to, if I dodge, evade, you do have the role of citizen advocate, so.
Sure. Great. All right. So
Can we put one thing to rest, though? I got a question from an avid viewer who is on my softball team that asked me recently if I dye my hair. Could you step around in front of the camera and explain why I would have gotten that question? Do I look like the kind of guy that is that vain that would go to the trouble of dyeing my hair to appear on WETC? Do you think, you know me well enough, Jeff, would I dye my hair?
No, absolutely not. That was absolutely...
I'm one of the lowest maintenance... Go ahead.
That was my bad. A little known fact is that I am severely colorblind, and so I have to color correct the footage sometimes. But now that we're working remotely, normally I have another guy here to look at the footage, but I just winged it, and I made you look like mutant green. But it looked great.
So it was because we were doing the remote ones?
No, it's just I was editing at home.
Editing it remotely, because it was filmed in here.
Yes.
Okay.
But normally I have to tweak the colors a little bit when I do the editing. But normally I'll have one of the other guys look at it and verify the colors look okay.
And I could see, because when I saw that episode come up, and then when he mentioned it, I could see why.
Yeah, I was watching it with my husband.
I wasn't sure if there was like a solar eclipse going on out there or something, but...
Well, I apologize.
No, it's no apology needed. I mean, if people who... This is the guy behind the edits of this show, puts in the graphics when necessary, gets some of the B-roll footage if we're talking about, the school project, and gets some of the footage of the school, does a great job, but obviously...
Next time, yeah, I'll get a second set of eyes on it.
What do they used to say in Hollywood, right? Get my good side.
Yeah. I failed to do that, I'm
That's
sorry.
all right.
I can also confirm.
But that was a legitimate
Yeah.
question that came up. I thought it was kind of funny, actually.
And I can confirm he has not dyed his hair. I see him every day. It's the same color. All right, let's go.
My beard might need a little of that. What's that stuff Hulk Hogan used to put on his face when he was with the NWO?
Yeah,
Touch of gray.
Touch of gray.
No, he used like shoe polish. You can get a shot of that? Okay, all right, here we go.
All right, great. Hi, Mayor Bob. I'm hoping you can give me some updates on 2 town projects. 1, what is the story with all the lumber being stockpiled behind the Whipple Center? Also, what is the new cement pad that is now in place also behind the Whipple? The second question is there any update on the boardwalk between the new and old beach?
We have a very observant, who was it, Marge?
Marge West.
Marge West. Very observant. She must be North Weymouth centric, I would guess, right? She is? You know her?
We know her. She was at the Whipple Center one day with you.
Yes. Sometimes the faces start to all roll together because I have many people talk to me in the course of the day, but it's coming back to me. So she spends a lot of time at the Whipple Center. I'll take the last one first because that actually is a pretty good question. Actually, I want to let everyone know this segment, and I don't know which one you're running first, but the one I got the blue shirt on that says Back River Watershed, we commented that this was probably the raft of questions that came in here in terms of the uniqueness and the solid quality of the questions may have been the best we've gotten now in 5 years, right, Mary?
That's correct. It's
Some
the
really,
best grouping ever.
really heavy-duty questions in here from what we hear. We just got a chance to glimpse at some of them as Casey was coming in, and some of them I may be stumped on later. So the Beach Connection project, it's a 2-part thing. It's a beach connection. The town has sought to do that since the 70s. It's been a priority of the Waterfront Committee. When I came in, I realized that the town had never sought a Seaport Economic Development grant. We went after that. We got it for the design work. But the other major component of this is something that's sorely needed, and that's to address the coastal erosion of the coastal bank, the erosion of the coastal bank. It was a long process working with the neighbors. There was a lot of trepidation about this. We have a lot of encroachment on town land by some of the neighbors who run stairs over town land. So we worked out arrangements with them to kind of codify that. And the good news that we got from the planning department this week was that we're on the cusp of getting our Chapter 91 permits from the state, which is a long process. So the permitting is just about in place. Once that's done, which we expect like literally over the next week, the town can then take that design work and go back to the Seaport Economic Development Council and seek funding for actual work. It's going to come in phases. The initial work really will be to stabilize the bank, and as funds, this is not a high priority project, shall we say, compared to funding the library and roads. This is more of a luxury, and it's a specific grant we go after that you can't use that money for anything else. So that's why when people say, why are you spending money on that when you should be doing this? It's just earmarked for that. It's all we can use it for. And we're going to fund this project as funds allow via grants. It's not going to impact any other capital project in town. So that's moving forward. The other part of that, Whipple Center, I think most of what she's talking about is due to staging for some of the modular units that are going at the grammar schools to facilitate the Chapman project, and there may be some other related things there, staging-wise, that the town has had to utilize as we move things around to accommodate not only the Chapman but the Abigail work.
Right, so some storage.
The pad, I'm not exactly sure. I know we've done other work there with the what's the word I want? Not the pergola, but not the pickleboard, next to the pickleboard courts, the outdoor, the gazebo, thank you. That's the word I wanted. That's why you're here. So we've done some work like that, the walking path, but the pad she cites, I'm not exactly sure. It could have to do with the storage and the staging that's going on there.
Sure, great.
If it's anything different than that, we'll update at a later segment.
Great. All right, next question. Hello, Mayor Hedlund. Wow, so much going on in the U.S., world, and our town of Weymouth. 2 questions.
We're going to expand this. We're going to syndicate, take this nationally. This is good.
What do you believe is the shape of our police department under Chief Grimes, whom I admired, and now Chief Fuller, whom I have no idea where he stands but wish him well? I know we had a peaceful assembly at Legion Field for Black Lives Matter. No matter how you slice it, we have to face this head on. This is on the minds of not only Weymouth residents, but those throughout the world. Are you happy with the diversity of our police department as a whole, or as mayor, would you like to see a change? Could you ask or assist on it? Is it the chief's responsibility to balance the force, or the cadet that comes out of the academy makes the decision of which town they want to serve? Can you break down the hiring process for me? The
Excellent.
officers I have met have always been friendly and helpful. It's not an easy job. Thanks. Ed Hartnett.
Oh, well, Ed, as always, well-written, good questions. The overall shape of the department, and we actually talked about this on a previous show, it came up. I said in the last show, the department's come a long way. I mean, having grown up here in the South Shore my entire life, there was a reputation of the Weymouth Police Department back in the 70s and 80s that was a little bit off, shall we say. And I know it was subject to some investigation. In 1979, you had a thing that was front page news for months and months with the Rumble and the Birches, and an investigation that ensued from that. I know from personal experience in the early 80s how I don't want to use the word rogue. I'm searching for a similar kind of adjective that's more diplomatic. But there was some things that went on that you could say might not be total professionalism. And it may have been things that happened in policing in general. And I'm not talking of racial nature. I'm just saying a rugged, tough kind of approach to things that you don't see like that anymore, generally. At least not around here. I mean, we just saw it, obviously, in Minneapolis. No, I'm very happy with the Weymouth Police Department. I've gone on record saying it's one of the best run departments we have in town. The officers that we have are professional for the most part. I did have one guy yell at me recently. He didn't know I was the mayor, but that's kind of a funny anecdote. We'll save for another time. But I think we have a very well-performing police department in terms of how they protect the community. Extremely well-performing. In terms of drug arrests, things like that, we're as good as there is on the South Shore. In terms of diversity, it's not the most diverse police department you'll see out there. As far as South Shore suburban police departments, it's as diverse as any, but overall, certainly not as diverse as other communities where you have a much more diverse population to begin with. So in a sense, it's reflective of what the overall population of Weymouth looks like. It's not lacking in diversity by that standard, but it may be lacking in diversity as you look at other departments. One of the things I think that's significant about the Weymouth Police Department, if you look at the gender diversity, it is significant. We have just promoted a female into the senior officer ranks. And we have little division directors that are female that are extremely well performing. Community outreach work that Jen Pompeo does. She was in a meeting yesterday in this office. They do very well in terms of the gender diversity, and I think that, obviously the racial diversity is pretty much reflective of the community and what you see on the South Shore. I don't have any complaints with the Weymouth Police Department, except maybe the guy that yelled at me that day. But again, their performance is tremendous, and Chief Grimes did a great job setting the tone, and that has been a continuation with all of the senior officers from Captain Phillips and Chief Fuller and Captain Camperchio, the lieutenants that have been promoted, Metcalf and Parch and others. No, wait a minute. I'm messing up one, I think. But all of the senior staff that has been recently promoted with the departure of Captain Concannon and Chief Grimes have been excellent hires. So very happy with them. And there was something else at the end of that?
Yeah, do you have a sense of the hiring process? When cadets come out of the academy, what my understanding is they apply for the town they want to serve in, but
Correct.
Is there an effort to diversify forces that way?
So I can't speak definitively, but transfers also come into play. And the chief has a lot of leeway on transfers. So he may be familiar with the performance of an officer in another community that may want to come here. For instance, I can tell you that two of our better officers that we have, one who has a leadership role right now within the union, was a transfer from another community. And we had another transfer from Hingham, someone who's worked up the ranks, who's been a great asset to the Weymouth department. And many transfer for different reasons. Greener pastures, whatever, more of a challenge, or things like that. So I'm giving that department right now. I mean, if people have other opinions about that and have had issues, we certainly welcome them to bring that to our attention and let us know. But high marks.
Great. All right, so this is a longer question. It's got 4 parts. So, hi Mayor Hedlund. Is full-day kindergarten ever going to be a reality for the children and working parents of Weymouth? I ask that realizing there are constraints with COVID at present. So I'll ask you each part, let you respond, because there's...
Okay, this is a lengthy one?
It's a lengthy one, yeah.
Okay.
So, full-day K.
Well, it's a reality in the sense that, despite, obviously we had differences that were well publicized, we did not feel with the revenue projections that we had, it was wise at this time to implement full free day K here in Weymouth. That was pre-COVID, even, again, with the budget situation as we interpret it. We suggested a phase-in or a delay. School department moved forward with that. School committee moved forward with that. Then we had this pandemic hit. The finances just became a disaster situation, unprecedented, worse than the recession in 2008. It's looking like maybe that hopefully this won't be as long and lasting, but it has been a deeper decline and a faster decline than what we saw then. We suggested, and we had to retool our budget, and we once again suggested that be delayed. School committee voted in the face of the pandemic to move forward. There's some additional money that was secured by Senator O'Connor through the state budget process to help them with that. And they're moving forward with that. Now, what hits in the third roadblock, in the sense that's now hit, that effort has been the delay on the opening. So this is up in the air, and we'll see what things look like further down the road for the school department to get this in place.
Sure, so that's a yes for this fall with...
It would have been a yes. And right now, obviously, with the delay, we'll see.
Okay. Question 2. With budgets across the state due to COVID and potentially having to contribute $100 a week for unemployment benefits, would you consider allowing a marijuana dispensary to open in Weymouth in order to generate tax revenue that can be used to bridge the gap? Perhaps this revenue could fund the full-day kindergarten we were promised when going to the ballot box.
Yeah, perhaps. It's not going to work that way. You're not going to be able to, if we had a marijuana dispensary, you're not going to be able to really earmark that and say that goes to,
right.
It's got to go to the general fund, and obviously it would help the budget situation overall, depending upon what kind of revenues might come in from that. But I mean, it's obviously a longer process than me allowing it. It requires council approval. We didn't feel when this came up, a couple of years ago now, whatever it was the right timing, nor did we feel we had the right locations at that time. And my position was not to advance that. It was put before the council as part of the process. They voted unanimously 11-0 not to pursue this at that time. So I don't see it happening right now in the midst of what we're dealing with. Although we are looking at I can't get into it in too much detail, but we may be permitting a marijuana-related operation here that would provide some revenue for the town, but it's not a dispensary. More on that later.
All right. Okay. Will Weymouth be sponsoring any rapid testing for COVID?
It's not on the horizon right now for a number of reasons. We're not one of those hotspots. We don't have the means to do it right now, and we're coping pretty well with some of the access that we have to testing. You know, we're lucky we have social health systems here, and that hasn't become an issue yet.
Mm-hmm. I believe Brockton has rapid testing for those who are looking for it.
Yeah, and actually it's changed based on how these cases have arrived at and what hotspots there are.
Yeah.
And there's some state assistance to do that, but we're actually below number of cases on a per capita basis here, so we're not one of those hotspots. So.
Great. All right, and final question. This is Chris Landers, by the way. Would you ever consider putting a rotary in Columbian Square? It would take a one-time investment and translate into better traffic flow and fewer accidents.
I would refer him to go and look at development update in the WTC archives, who will go into that in depth. But yes, a rotary was considered a long time ago and has been rejected by every traffic engineer and consultant that's looked at this. We dusted off an old plan done under the Madden administration 18 years ago. We've updated that, we've funded that to update that. We've reached a preferred alternative that design work is underway on right now, which does not include a rotary, but does include signalization.
Okay.
So that's going to be the short answer because we've beaten that horse.
I think you've heard that a few times. Yeah.
So check out, either Google it and check out development update segment on. We may need to update that because since that has aired, we have gotten an additional grant to further. I can't keep track of all these grants. What does Trump say? So much winning?
You may get bored with winning.
You are going to get so sick and tired of winning.
Wow, winning.
Grants.
Not sure.
I feel like I'm at the casino with all the money coming out of that jackpot thing. But we just got another grant to advance some of the design work. I forget what percentage of design we're at, but that process moves forward, which will ultimately lead to the signalization.
All right, great.
What's the signal on the time? This is flying. You're good.
All right, this question is from Anonymous. Why does the town allow unofficial flags to be flown on public vehicles? I'm speaking in particular about the thin blue line flag, which is a violation of U.S. flag code, and other flags not endorsed or sanctioned by any level of government. These vehicles are taxpayer funded, and many people are of the opinion that only flags flown in these vehicles should be U.S., state, or town. What is the town's official policy on this? And if there is not one, do you support drafting one?
So they're worried about the flag on a car, stickers?
They're concerned about the thin blue line flag on public vehicles, so town
Oh,
vehicles.
so
I
like the
presume.
fire department flying the flag, I get it.
Correct.
So this obviously became, gained some notoriety based on Hingham, which did not have a policy, by the way, a written stated policy. What happened was Hingham had a precedent where a request was made to fly the rainbow flag at Town Hall. They said, they didn't use the word policy, they said practice. Then, and this is what a selectman over there just told me directly 3 days ago. Then when the citizen, the same citizen over there, 19-year-old guy, friends with his uncle, was agitated that they didn't fly the rainbow flag, when he saw the thin blue line flag, he wrote a letter to the selectmen. Well, he wrote a letter to the chief of the selectmen, but the chiefs became aware of it. The Hingham selectmen told me 3 nights ago that the chiefs wrote that letter unilaterally. This is what I read in the paper. They interpreted the action by the selectmen into thinking that they had a policy when they didn't, and ordered the flag removed. Now, the irony was the department only planned to fly the flag for 2 weeks. They're on the 10th day. If they probably didn't ignored the email, 4 days later, that flag was supposed to be coming off. They did it a year ago to commemorate, or recognize, not to commemorate, but to honor Chesna's passing, Sergeant Chesna's passing. They did it a year early and they left it on for 2 weeks. So we probably wouldn't have all this focus and controversy as a result. I am not going to order the flags removed off the truck. I don't agree with his assessment. This is something that we're doing to recognize and memorialize what happened 2 years ago. And that's the interpretation that I have, the meaning that I understand that flag to hold. And we have all this talk about cultural appropriation, and I don't think that the meaning of that flag should be appropriated for anything else, and we don't recognize that appropriation if it is to mean something else, in my opinion.
Okay.
And I'm not going to open up a can of worms and create in Hingham create here what happened in Hingham.
Right. So no policy.
We don't have a policy. No, we don't. And the informal policy is that's why that flag's flying, and that's what we recognize.
Okay. Would you be okay with other flags being flown on town vehicles with permission?
I think we're going to try to keep it to this at the moment.
Great.
But I can understand how someone might view that being inconsistent also.
All right. This email is titled Union Pointless. Hello, Mayor Hedlund. I'm going back to one of your favorite subjects that I know must be a pain in your side, union.
Oh, go ahead.
What's the point? With all that has been happening lately, what is going on at Union Point in terms of retail or any more development there? Do you think the Route 18 roadwork, which is sorely needed, has been a real problem for big business going in there? What are your thoughts? Thanks, Ed Hartnett.
Give me the last part because I'm distracted because we're going to try to sneak another question in.
Sure.
I know that Mary looked at, it was rather complicated, and we had to do a little digging
He
on it.
wonders if Route 18 is affecting development at Union Point.
No. Incompetence by a master developer and malfeasance is what is holding it up. It's ironic, Route 18 will be done by the time that the new master developer, if the master developer that's been chosen, the Brookfield Partners Consortium, if they get their act together with Washington Capital that owns the land, you'll probably see Route 18 done by then. So no, it hasn't. I think overall traffic considerations obviously impact what a developer views as feasible or not feasible. So I would say no. And I think we wanted to get to a very complicated one, which we got a limited amount of time.
All
so
right.
Do your editorial.
Okay. Dear Mayor Hedlund, at the budget improvement meeting in June, the town council voted to reallocate funds or expand the parameters for use of funds secured for renovating Abigail Adams in order to build a garage for school and town vehicles. The funds set aside were already over $1 million less than the feasibility study indicated would be needed to complete the renovation. With the garage estimated at about $2 million, we are now $3 million behind what it costs to renovate Abigail Adams. Therefore, during the vote, President Arthur Matthews indicated the town may feel need to take out an additional bond to complete this project. I have 2 questions regarding this project and the decision/vote made. 1. With the garage planned on being built there before the school is renovated, will the town still be able to guarantee an opening date for Abigail Adams as an elementary school in September 2023? This is a town project and was a promise made to the community during the Yes for Chapman campaign. Do you want to answer that one?
You good?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the premise, some of the premise of the question is a little bit off. So the $3 million in funding was for the Adams conversion to a primary school. That's what was promised, and that was planned since the Chapman configuration was selected. As part of the project, the school requested the garage for the school transportation vans. Obviously, that had to be relocated from Chapman. We understood that. The only vehicles garage there will be school, not town vehicles. And the estimate on the garage was $980,000, $980,000, excuse me, just under $1 million, and not the $2 million. So that's why we got a little cheat sheet. And Mary, thank you. We wanted to just confirm some figures here before we put that out on the air, which we did. And none of the project timelines obviously can be guaranteed with what's going on with the COVID stuff. But the garage issue will not prevent the Adams conversion from happening. That just isn't going to happen. And the garage will be ADA compliant, obviously, as will the school. And I think the focus on the ADA stuff is really for the school.
Right.
We could, if necessary, we could look at deferring the garage project, but that's not going to impact Adams. That's full speed ahead. I know that we have some differences of opinion on how detailed the conversion has to go, which wasn't totally spelled out with the school department at the time we put the whole concept forward. There's some bells and whistles the school department may want. There's things that we recognize we have to do. Obviously, converting bathrooms to accommodate smaller children and things like that, that's happening. But there's some issues still about configurations and everything. And yeah, the COVID thing has kind of thrown us for a loop a little bit, because you got to kind of reinvent everything that you're doing nowadays and think about spacing and stuff like that and how that's going to be affected in the future and what the layout has to look like. So those are impacting us to a certain degree, but we're moving forward with the hopes of there's going to be normalcy. Before we close, you help select a prop here. You want to social distancing here with you and I, and our beaver is masked up.
Yeah, he's masked up.
That is the sheriff's department sent over. If anyone's wondering, sent over some masks for us, which we appreciated. We've got a mishmash of masks here, different designs. You guys look very well today, very fashionable. You get the best mask over here. That looks good. So you know how we close. Take it away.
If you have any questions for Mayor Bob Hedlund, you can send your question to askmayorbob@gmail.com.
Before you get to pick our transitional show, I must mention that you've got some notoriety recently. Casey, a Weymouth resident, has decorated your husband's family's property a little bit where you live, right? Mm-hmm. And you got a lot of notoriety. You want to explain that and
Sure.
give maybe a message out there, what you're hoping to promote with your handiwork?
I live on Green Street, and you may have seen the mural I painted there. It's a rainbow. It says "Stronger Together." I was inspired by the Weymouth Moms Facebook group. Shout out to Weymouth Moms. They did a rainbow hunt for all of the kids right when things got shut down. Everyone was stuck in their house. I think a lot of people were feeling bad for their kids that they couldn't go out and do things. So we had this unofficial rainbow hunt where we all went to different streets and saw the rainbows in the windows that were drawn by kids. So I was sort of inspired to paint this big rainbow, thinking maybe parents would want to take their kids to come see it. I have a 2-year-old. I know he loves it. And basically my thought was, hey, we're all in this together. We're separated, we're in our homes, this is really hard, but at the end of the day, if we all participate in isolating ourselves, we will be stronger.
When you call our office, you often hear her voice. She's one of the folks that answers the phone out there. She has the least seniority, so she gets to have to do a lot of dirty work,
Thanks for
like
pointing
host
that out.
Ask the Mayor. And when you go by that rainbow thing on that building, which at one time was a little store or something back in the old days, she came in one day with the greatest present for me. Go ahead, tell that story real quick.
I did. So I live on a property full of treasures, and I found a Hedlund Motors mud flap.
Wow.
From my father-in-law had it tucked away, and my husband found it. Unused.
Wow.
It's now proudly hangs in my garage,
Yeah.
and it's one of the momentums from my private sector days that obviously I wasn't going to save a mud flap, but I wish I had, and now I have one.
Yeah.
Best
there
present
you go.
I've gotten in a long time.
Yeah. So great. Thanks.
Take it away.
For your time. All right. Thanks for watching Ask the Mayor. Feel free to send in your
And
questions.
stay tuned for.
Stay tuned for Seventh Heaven.
Very good.
What is Seventh Heaven?
Put that on.
What the heck is that?
If you have a question, please email the mayor at askmayorbob@gmail.com. That's askmayorbob@gmail.com. Maybe your question will be answered on the next episode of Ask the Mayor.